around to photograph this occasion, this historic occasion for President Kennedy, the first honorary degree that he has received since he was elected president of this country.
Rows of tables in front of the speaker's dais contain chairs and members of the press, radio, and television, as we mentioned earlier. There you can now see the rear of the platform, the flag of the United States, the flag of North Carolina, and the banner of the university.
Now the spectators on the opposite side of the stadium have received their first glance of the president. He's standing in front of the platform, receiving a standing ovation from this crowd. And the procession of the faculty of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill continues as they file into the reserved section, which we pointed out to you a moment ago. When the procession concludes, and all have taken their seats, the actual ceremony itself will get underway with the singing of the national anthem, the invocation, and there will be a moment of silence in which deceased alumni of the University of North Carolina will be honored. There will be singing by the combined choruses under the direction of Joel Jackson Carter, the Women's College Chorus, the Women's College Choir, the University Chorus, and the University Men's Glee Club.
Secretary of Commerce Luther Hodges, former governor of the state of North Carolina.
Luther Hodges is already a recipient of an honorary degree from the university.
Dr. Frank Porter Graham, former president of the University of North Carolina. Also on the stage, Mr. Gordon Gray, former president of the University of North Carolina.
These gentlemen, again, have already been honored by degrees.
The university band has been and is under the direction of Mr. Herbert Fred, and the music that has been played during the academic procession this morning has been...
We had one selection from Gounod, Ernie, as I recall.
Here we are. March Pontifical, Gounod, and our papers fly away a bit. The Slow March from Scipio by Handel. Seated on the dais, Professor S.S. Hill of the Department of Religion, Professor R.B. House, former the trustees of the University of North Carolina.
President Kennedy talking with President Friday. We had occasion yesterday to speak with President William Friday about how this ceremony came about. And it started just a year ago when Bill Friday was talking with Governor Sanford, last October actually, and asked the governor if the president would be willing to come to the university to accept a degree and appear on University Day. And from there, the wheels started in motion. The degree was conferred by the faculty, approved by the Board of Trustees, and this day, University Day 1961, is the result. There you see the trustees across the field from our press box. Our pool television coverage, located with one camera high atop this press box, two more cameras on a built-up platform directly in front of the speaker's platform, and a fourth camera to one side, so that we may cover this entire stadium.
Down with the press facilities, on the ground, temporary power cables have been installed. There are numerous outlets, electrical outlets, all kinds of facilities, radio facilities. This, by the way, in radio is going to about 47 radio stations within the state. Other radio stations are hooked into the network, and the speech and ceremonies today are being recorded for Voice of America.
The gates to Keenan Stadium were opened at 9 this morning, and there were lines waiting to get in at that time. It has filled steadily since then until now. It is almost completely full. Now you have a full view of the Speaker's platform and the press corps assembled in front. The last of the faculty now off the playing field, on the sidelines, going into the reserve section. And very shortly, Chancellor William Aycock of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill will rise, and these ceremonies will get underway. There you see President Friday and President Kennedy.
Also with President Kennedy today is Mr. James Webb, head of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Ambassador Llewellyn Thompson, United States Ambassador to the USSR. And Ambassador Walter Dowling, the United States Ambassador to the Federal Republic of Germany.
Immediately at the conclusion of these ceremonies, the President will return to Raleigh-Durham Airport, board his DC-6, and fly to Pope Air Force Base at Fort Bragg for a security demonstration of the Strategic Air Command and the 82nd Airborne Division.
Governor Sanford and Secretary of Commerce Luther Hodges, when they depart, will be flying to Charlotte to attend the North Carolina Trade Fair.
President Kennedy, incidentally, officially opened that trade fair just under an hour ago. When he arrived at the airport at Raleigh-Durham, there was a platform built, and there Governor Sanford met the President, welcomed him to North Carolina, and the President officially opened the first state-sponsored trade fair in these United States, opening today in Charlotte.
We shall all join in singing the national anthem. Please remain standing for the invocation. .160 years ago, almost within the hour. A group of people with vision and purpose gathered a stone's throw north of this spot to lay the foundation of an institution of higher learning in a new nation. They laid the cornerstone of Old East, the first building to be erected on a state university campus in the United States. Thus was born a university designed and destined to produce leaders for each succeeding generation. We gathered together this beautiful October day to honor those who early conceived the principle that freedom and education are inseparable. In memory of them and of our colleagues and students who have followed them, we now observe a moment of silence. It is a privilege and an honor to present William Clyde Friday, President of the University of North Carolina. President Friday.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. President Friday, Mr. Chancellor, Governor Sanford, members of the faculty, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored today to be admitted to the fellowship of this ancient and distinguished university. And I am pleased to receive, in the short space of 1 or 2 minutes, the honor for which you spend over 4 years of your life. But whether the degree be honorary or earned, it is a proud symbol of this university and this state. North Carolina has long been identified with enlightened and progressive leaders and people. And I can think of no more important reason for that reputation than this university, which year after year has sent educated men and women who have had a recognition of their public responsibilities as well as their private interests. Distinguished presidents like President Graham and Gray, distinguished leaders like the Secretary of Commerce, Governor Hodges, distinguished members of the congressional delegation, carry out a tradition which stretches back to the beginning of this school, and that is that the graduate of this university is a man of his nation as well as a man of his time. And it is my hope in a changing world when untold possibilities lie before North Carolina and indeed the entire South and country, that this university will still hew to the old line of the responsibility that its graduates owe to the community at large. That in your time, too, you will be willing to give to the state and country a portion of your lives and all of your knowledge and all of your loyalty. I want to emphasize in the great concentration which we now place upon scientists and engineers how much we still need the men and women educated in the liberal tradition, willing to take the long look, undisturbed by prejudices and slogans of the moment, who attempt to make an honest judgment on difficult events. This university has a more important function today than ever before. And therefore, I am proud, as President of the United States and as a graduate of a small land-grant college in Massachusetts, Harvard University, to come to this center of education. Those of you who regard my profession of political life with some disdain should remember that it made it possible for me to move from being an obscure lieutenant in the United States Navy to commander-in-chief in 14 years with very little technical competence. But more than that, I hope that you will realize that from the beginning of this country, and especially in North Carolina, there has been the closest link between educated men and women and politics and government. And also to remember that our nation's first great leaders were also our first great scholars. A contemporary described Thomas Jefferson as a gentleman of 32 who could calculate an eclipse, survey an estate, tie an artery, plan an edifice, try a cause, break a horse, dance the minuet, and play the violin. John Quincy Adams, after being summarily dismissed by the Massachusetts legislature from the United States Senate for supporting Thomas Jefferson, could then become Boylston Professor of Rhetoric and Oratory at Harvard University, and then become a great Secretary of State. And Senator Daniel Webster could stroll down the corridors of the Congress a few steps after making some of the greatest speeches in the history of this country and dominate the Supreme Court as the foremost lawyer of his day. This versatility, this vitality, this intellectual energy put to the service